Welcome here. We are ready, live, and coming out of orbit, at least on my end. Of course, the satellite's allowing me to cast a night. We are excited to bring you some Unified Advanced League action. My name, of course, is Orbital. With me is the man, the myth, the legend, random minion caster. You know, I almost called you by the acronym. I do that way too much. RMC, how you doing today?
You know what, Orbital? I thought you were going to go the man, the myth, the minion. I mean, why a legend, buddy? You know what I am. We'll call it as it is here. And it's great to be here. Week 4 of the Unified Advanced League here. The second last week of the regular season. And I am so happy that we get to cast this particular game in the Ocean Division here, because it's really interesting. We have, on one hand, Michigan State University here, MSU, the top seed of the Ocean Division right now. They've not dropped a match yet, and honestly, I look at their roster, I see some familiar names, and they're very strong individual players. And on the other hand, a tried and tested team, return of the Middle Sticks. If you're familiar with the name, if you're familiar with UML, you'll be familiar with this name. They are the current reigning UML champions who won that league, promoted up, and decided to start their new Game Plus.
Yeah, listen, when you dominate one kingdom, you have got to keep expanding. You know, you want to feel all that power, supposedly. I don't know. But it is fantastic to hear that they are challenging for that top spot. They're currently 2-1, like you stated. If they win this one, they are going to potentially knock MSU out of that chance to go into the playoffs. Because if MSU currently win this match, they will be set at 4-0. There is no chance for anyone else to knock them out. They will have a bye in, or not a bye, they will be able to make it into the playoffs, and that, I think, is very, very telling, so I'm very, very excited. However, the biggest news, I think, personally, because I just want to point this out, Vex is enabled. Last week, we missed it by one day. It was very, very unfortunate. Of course, Vex was probably happy about it. Now, Vex is enabled, and that, I feel, throws a little bit of a wrench into maybe some of these drafts that the teams may or may not have been ready for.
True. I mean, depending on your champion pool here, Vex is an interesting tool, and I've heard a lot of, different opinions on how strong she really is for the most part. Originally designed as a caster answer to assassins, to mobility pretty much, but it's not always worked out, and she does have a bit of a weaker laning phase. Does take a bit of time to scale up, but should Vex hit the late game, her damage gets pretty nasty, and her ability to just dive on targets herself also makes her a very potent backline threat. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see it, but I suspect it's going to be more likely from the side of Return of the Middle Sticks, as I've not really seen Lance play too much Vex in solo queue so far.
Yeah, and as we get into the draft here, Return of the Middle Six on that blue side, I believe you were talking with some of the coaches and the players before even that, you know, maybe the Vex will come out, maybe it's not. The team's still trying to hamper over it, so we'll see if it does come into play, if they so decide, because there are quite a few other champions that we do have to be worried about. Worlds has already showcased a majority of the champions that we might see here, but Return of the Middle Six going ahead and throwing in a little bit of a targeted ban that Fiora will not see the Rift.
Yeah, that's something that has been banned against Levicius a lot here for the side of MSU. Nobody ever wants to let it see the light of day. It's worth noting the Ocean Division that they do have only 5 teams, so they actually have a bye week. And for both these teams, they've actually only played 2 weeks here. They both had the bye week, and every single game for MSU, Fiora gets banned. This one, no different here. What I'm more curious about is whether we see some of those world bans trickle down. Things like the Yuumi, things like the Lucian, the Misfortune potentially to come through here.
Yeah, it's a chance, but we're still going with those boosters. We're still going for those hard carries. Aurelia taken away, and this is one that I think anyone that's watched these teams kind of knows is going to be banned away. You don't want to let Penguino have that cane. It is going to be a bad time.
Yeah, I think that's Penguino's most played champion, the one that he's famous for as well. So you definitely want to take that out. And while we're on the subject of Penguino, I do want to look over at the side of Return of the Middle Sticks here, and their jungler, Lexus. Lexus is a substitute coming in for tonight. It's not their usual starting jungler who is supposed to be rock jungle. And even in the mid lane, they're actually using a new mid laner, a new starter, Schneider here. So both these players, not a lot of information with them. And more importantly, I don't know how much synergy they have with themselves or with the rest of the team.
Yeah, and of course, having a bit of fun. I like it. The Amumu ban out on MSU's side was very understandable. You know, on that red side, you are forced to ban that away. And the Gwen. So, again, heavily targeting that top side. But going back to your point, of course, with swapping out those two members of the jungle and the mid, I would honestly say that's probably a little bit more favorable if Lexus and Schneider have actually played together. I like to consider the jungle and mid as kind of the battery of the team, right? That is the one that you, no matter what, even if they don't work with the rest of the team, you want them to at least work together. That is going to be a huge thing that we do have to kind of keep track of during this entire series.
Yeah, but for now here, bans coming through Seraphine and Amumu. Interesting that the Amumu got banned out. It is something that we have seen a Silver Dragon play quite a bit, or Silver as his name's been abbreviated there. But it did get nerfed. We are on patch 11.20. It's not the world's patch, and Amumu's mana cost just went through the roof here. But Misfortune, we talked about this. Lucian, Nami being one of the big ones, the other one being Misfortune coming through and Return of the Middle Six. Maybe? Is there a chance we get Middle Six, you know, with that Misfortune, with AoE? It's in the name.
Yeah, it's in there, but at the same time, they might be focusing on a different area because, yes, the Vex is open. It was hovered.
No. Oh!
And it's going to be locked in. So that will go to Lance in that mid lane. Most likely. Don't get it wrong. We've seen some weird stuff. People are still trying to figure out where they like it in their team specifically, but it's a power pick nonetheless.
Yeah, Vex is best in the mid lane. Okay, you know, MSU is trolling us a little bit. I love it. I actually thought the Vex hover was just to troll us a little bit, but they actually went for it. Now, Xin Zhao, still that strong power pick. The jungle meta is quite interesting, actually, in 11.20, because we've seen the assassins make their return. You know, things like Zed, Talon, Kiana, all coming in. They were super exciting for a while. Return of the Middle Six better not be trolling me with this as well. But we also see the old guard, things like Xin Zhao, Jarvan, and Lee Sin really dominating the top of the table here. So it looks like for both of these teams for now, you know, they are still hovering with that old guard instead, and J4 the answer here to that Xin Zhao.
I like the hovers and swap arounds, but again, you do have to be worried about that. That Vex may or may not be throwing a little bit of a curveball into what they originally wanted to select. However, they still say screw it, we can still dive, it's not that difficult. You lock in a pretty tried and true combination with that Camille going towards that top lane, so Tendy's picking up another solid bruiser, and the answer right back out, Selenius will go ahead and grab that Braum.
Right, so already, right away, Return to the Middle Six, we see that they're setting up for this bullet time there with the Cataclysm, with that Hextech Ultimatum to just lock down a target, and you have to eat the entire ult. But Braum coming in, already considered quite a counter to Misfortune. Maybe not at level 6. If Braum eats the entire bullet time, he can drop dead. But later on, we'll be able to soak up, block a lot of that damage. And against the Camille as well, having that Frost passive, the Winter's Bite, to be able to stun her up is going to be key as well. So I love what MSU have picked up. They still, however, do need a bit more damage. Vex alone is not going to be sufficient in the early mid-game.
Yeah, they're still looking, and of course, you can see where both teams are kind of indexing towards, and what they're realizing is still left open. And so MSU is going to go ahead, take away the Galio and the Uni. Both great additions to what ROTM are pulling out here with the Orin band away that won't be up in that top side. Follow through with a potential ADC that can get away, and you lock down that leaving factor if that J4 and the Camille decide to jump on you.
That Galio, I mean, that's what you pair with a lot of times Camille and Jarvan just being such good targets to allow you to use that hero's entrance, not to mention the setup as well. The Ornn, that's a bit of a targeted ban. We've seen a lot of it from Levetius, but Ezreal, I don't know if that's necessarily the call here. We've not seen Babashar play too much Ezreal, and you know, you still have the Ziggs for safety if you want. Set being picked up here does mean more physical damage, so if anything, Ziggs is still an option into this Misfortune.
Be picked up, and I think RTM were also kind of thinking it. They don't want to let it go over, and so this could be a shadow ban. No, they say okay, Leona, which is still following through with their original composition. It is going to be their choice of going all in, and they're gonna stick with it, not deterred by anything MSU has locked so far.
Instead, Leona Victor being picked up here for Return of the Middle Six. They're all winning on this team fighting composition. You saw it in the beginning. It's like, okay, they've got a lot of team fight utility here, and Leona, another big AoE ultimate. Victor, another big AoE ultimate. And the fact that it's Camille they're using as well, I love it. Because now you have the option of Camille split push into the set. Set will win that lane early, but as the game goes on, Camille will be more than happy to split into him. Okay. Tryndamere, I'm going to assume it's mid because that's where we've seen it most, but, you know, there's still a chance it goes top, maybe.
Either way, I like it, right? Because we get to see some variation. Again, power picks all around. We're getting some predictions here and some mind reading from the head of our, you know, production division, which is, I was trying to find a funny way to say it. The voice of the heavens, we'll say it that way. That is a Vex bottom lane with a Braum coming out here. That is what we're going to be seeing. MSU hard coming up with some ways to deal with these champions.
I'm just laughing overall because, as you mentioned, I had a chance to talk to some of the coaches, the players and stuff like that, and I just found out that MSU's coach was in con right before this game started, and I asked him, "Oh, what are we looking at draft?" And he told me, "It's gonna be a depression draft. You can quote me on this." And I thought he was trolling around. I was like, "Okay, we're gonna see Vex then, right? Depression must be Vex, maybe an Amumu in there." We got the Vex. I see now the point of depression. Tryndamere, I hate Tryndamere mid so much right now. He's such an obnoxious champion to deal with, right? Like, the problem with Tryndamere is that, oddly enough, he's kind of a no interaction champion. He's a melee champion, so yes, you can auto attack him, you can hurt him, you can use spells. But the problem is, he'll just heal it back up, and then he just wave clears. He doesn't actually want to fight you unless he thinks he can win that trade. Well, he might fight you even if you can't win because he can heal it back up. But the whole point is that he can just heal it back up. So there's very little interaction in that lane here. Looking at it compositionally as well, MSU's composition, I'm not seeing, like a particular identity to this. It's not, oh, this is a split push comp, or, oh, this is a team fighting composition. The moment you have Tryndamere, you have the split push option. But it just feels like a lot of strong power picks, a lot of individual champions, and it just feels like MSU, they're looking to try and maybe win out the lane, stop the engage, and then just drag it out, let that Tryndamere be that Tryndamere potentially in that split push. I don't know how it's going to work against this Camille exactly here. I do suspect Tryndamere wins it out late because he's just a big stat stick, but feels a little risky to me, with this particular draft, if you don't manage to find a lead in the early mid game.
I mean, you can even look at it that way, or you can look at the fact that they still also have a set that they have in their back pocket too. There are 2 points of contact that they can run into that Camille. It's gonna be crazy to watch. But my eyes, of course, are still drawn to that bottom lane because if what we heard is correct, Vex bottom lane sure can be strong, but paired with that Braum, I understand Vex is strong, but it still feels like a little bit of dyssynergy that may or may not cause them to fall a little bit behind in that bottom lane early on.
True. And the way I'm looking at this bot lane right now is that with Vex and Braum, Leona can't really engage. Yeah. Braum is already considered a bit of a counter to the Leona with, his passive being able to stack those concussive blows. I mean, it already does more damage than Leona early on in the game. And then you add on the ability to deny the misfortune bullet time as well. That's really strong for this Braum. And then now Vex being able to stop dashes. It does work on Leona's Zenith Blade. So it's very difficult for them to engage. It's going to rely a lot more on the AD carry, on Bark Go Duck here, to try and win that lane out with the poke, with the strong early levels from Misfortune.
Will, but we can only wait and see how these teams decide to play it out. So let's go ahead and introduce your players for this series tonight. On the blue side, it will be return of the middle six. Top lane will be Tendies. In the jungle will be Lexus, a very interesting model, of course. Snyder in the mid lane, Bark Go Duck at ADC, and Silver Dragon at support.
Not gonna lie, I don't recognize that Lexus model, 2004. That's kind of old, man. On the red side, it is gonna be MSU and Michigan State University here with Lavesius in the top lane, Penguino in the jungle. Lance, I hate your pick. He's in the mid lane. We won't talk about it. Bubba Shire and Selenius down in that bot lane there.
So I would talk about the bot lane, but let's talk about that mid lane a little bit, right?
No. There's nothing to talk about. about. Tryndamere farm, Tryndamere go boom, Tryndamere press R. Done. Mid lane's done. Sorry, Schneider, there's nothing to talk about because you don't get to do anything till team fight starts.
The absolute anger coming out of that pick. Oh, I love it so much. You know what? I say it best here. MSU, whoever's drafting, if you hear this, draft Tryndamere if you want to enjoy listening to RMC.
Don't encourage him. Don't encourage him. Don't do it.
Anyway, going into this a little bit, we get to see those standard lane matchups. Both junglers actually going the no assistance routes, with J4 actually clearing the chickens, which is surprising considering you always see J4. You hear J4s hate having to clear multiple enemies in a single kill.
It's not the fastest way for them to do it, but it feels like Lex is just kind of going for full clearance to scuttle, not necessarily looking for early cheese ganks here. And I do like the fact that you're hovering top a little bit because Set is known to be able to beat Camille in the early levels. If you can set that Set behind, then, well, your Camille has a much better time scaling up. More interesting to me is Penguino's pathing. The fact that he's looking for this bot lane instead. We already talked about the fact that it's a very defensive bot lane. So you're expecting the Misfortune Leona to push out already here. So you have a good gank path as long as you can avoid getting detected by wards on the way in.
And you can see, right, the immediate drop of the wards. They understand the level 2, level 3 early gank. I think he's going to take them out, but down to the top side, the whole Lexus is going to pull the flash. A nice attempt by Lexus to follow. Was able to predict it, but Gracious was able to get under the tower safely.
Yeah, really good flash away. And I'm actually surprised that Lexus flashed after there to chase, because now your flash as that J4 is gone. The knockup didn't quite manage to land as well. Does it really affect the J4 too much? Not really. Your flag and drag is still such a strong engage that you're okay with that. And he still gets scuttle. So if anything, just delays that J4 a little bit and just being matched on the other side by Penguin.
I wonder if RTM actually realized that that could be a threat, so they pulled a wave underneath. Silver Dragon actually ate about a quarter of HP damage to that, so really making sure that they understand that if they push out too far, if they're the ones caught out in the middle, they could spell their...
Interestingly enough, Barco Duck actually ran the Conqueror route here in this lane. I think usually we're seeing a lot of press the attack recently. The old rune was sort of that Dark Harvest for lane poke. And this Conqueror, because we're not seeing the sustained trades, is actually hurting them a little bit. Babashar is able to get the poke off and is actually chunking out the Misfortune better. And that's why I think we saw why Penguino was hovering that bot side, looking for the Krugs. If they could land 1 or 2 more build Vex Qs, the poke to come down, I think they could have looked for a dive. But as it stands right now, Penguino does back off, and Babashar and Selenius going to still be happy with the lane control that they have right now.
Yeah, given a little bit of freedom of control, you can see the CS also evening out here for Babashar, but top lane, we're going to see a return of fire, and we're going to give it the best shot.
No flash this time.
Yeah, it's going to be that kill. The question is, how low will Tendy? Oh my gosh, Tendy's going down to about 100 HP, and Levacious, because of this, might be able to get the grip back up. Nope, that's still too long until the Haymaker is off cooldown. So, the first kill to Lexus.
Penguino and Lance are still looking for this here.
Yeah, they caught a little bit of low HP, but again, Lance goes under the tower, only level 5. So can't really force that as much as they would have liked. A great attempt, but still a great kill from a return of the middle 6.
And because of that attempt right now, MSU roaming Lance up, he burnt the ghost there, couldn't quite find anything, and Schneider getting the free push right now. I wouldn't be surprised if they actually lane swap this bot side.
Ooh, they're gonna try and go in. The shield is up though, and the ignite down. Silver Dragon is very low. Even the heal is done, so that's the kill. You go in out of desperation, and you bite the dust. That will be a return fire. Fortunately for RTM, it does go to the Bronx.
And that was Silver Dragon choosing to Zenith Blade into the middle of that. They thought they had enough damage, but evidently not here. You've got to be so careful with that engage, and a lot of it's coming down to just Selenius with that Braum standing in front, making sure that Barco Duck doesn't get to free fire on Babashar now. And now Babashar gets a lost chapter. That bot lane is going to feel a lot better for this Vex now.
Give it a shot. Lexus was able to smell blood in the water. That Rift Scuttle is not going to result in any deaths.
A lot of bodies in the mid lane. Silver Dragon not even returning to the bot lane, immediately rotating up. I like the attempt to make the play there, but unfortunately you need everybody on board, and Tendies didn't want to go in, so the 3v3 favored MSU a little bit here. Bot side scuttle is going to be interesting because I wonder if MSU is going to look to try and contest this one here. I mean, Penguino's on the right side of the map, and Lance actually has Prio, so does Bubashar and Selenius here.
Well, instead of going for the scuttle, they actually go
this
and
works.
try and fight him up, and they might almost get the kill. No, that will be a nice save there. Penguino is able to get back. Lance is now level 6, and the rest of the team is here. Level 4 on the Braum. He's going to get a little bit of a slowdown. But the wall might not be enough to get the stun off. That is going to be a Flag and Drag not doing enough. Actually, it does. Oh, I thought he died, and he did not. Lance popping into that Undying Rage is going to finish off the single kill. Snyder over the wall is going to look at Selenius, and Lance is dead. ROTM are finding so much in this fight. They are going to try and chase down the Braum. They're going to try and chase down the Vex, but can they get the kill? A nice little tag hit for the rest, but a double up with that shield is not going to break the unbreakable Braum, who still stays alive through everything that ROTM threw.
Holy, I can't believe Selenius survived that there. And that whole sequence of events was just so odd. Props to Return of the Middle Sticks for winning that out. They go in deep, and we just talked about the fact that they didn't have Prio in the mid lane, in the bot lane, and yet they still managed to get there first. They're not able to find the dragon off the back end of it, but they'll be happy with the kills that they did get. And off screen, what we didn't see was Bart Go Duck fighting with Bubashar and actually winning that to get there first.
You know what? Second time might be the charm, but it was a little bit obvious, so they just go ahead and flash and everything and still get out alive. You commit so much there and are unable to get anything. You actually lose the dragon.
Yeah, I mean, that they lost a dragon after that fight was never in doubt. It was just how long before they lose it there. And Ocean Drake as well is going to feel a little bit rough. It's more sustained to a top lane Camille who's already in a comfortable spot, to this Victor in the mid lane who's going to be looking to trade, and for this bot lane as well, where Barco Duck and Silver Dragon are taking a lot of poke in lanes. That sustain will help to nullify that quite a bit. I'm just watching Lexus go in, man. You have no right to that blue buff. That is greed after he took the dragon, and still, he almost managed to take it.
Oh, well, you know what was greedy is Penguino actually chanced that Rift Trail. There was no flash available. I mean, Crescent Guard was up, but yeah, that kill should go the way of Snyder. Picked up with the Chaos Storm. RTM are going to go ahead and make it a 42 game.
A little bit greedy from Penguino, but he did pick up the Eye of the Herald. And you know what? If you take Herald for a death, it's still kind of worth it. The bigger problem is the momentum, the loss of momentum. And speaking of loss of momentum, we've apparently lost the game as well. So it's back to us here on the Kasha desk.
Yep, we're taking a little bit of time, of course, making sure no technical difficulties do occur while the game is running, right? We want to make sure the teams have the optimal setup. But let's go ahead and kind of ascertain what just happened, right? A couple quick kills. You know, the current gold situation is in Return of the Middle Six favor. But with that Rift Shield, it can be quickly evened up. And with how much time we've actually seen, I want to say that... Sorry. I want to say that Xin Zhao in the top side, I mean, do you think all the pressure they're putting up there is actually worth it?
Honestly, Penguino's ganks have not found a ton of success right now. So more than the ganks trying to find success in lanes, I think he's done a good job in terms of at least securing the Eye of the Herald, securing a lot of these scuttles right now. The nice thing for Penguino is that even if you're not winning the lanes, it's not the end of the world for you. You have a Tryndamere that scales. You have a Vex that scales here. The bigger issue is just making sure that you don't fall so far behind Lexus that you can no longer gank or no longer effectively block Lexus from taking these objectives. If anything, I think Return of the Middle Sticks have done an amazing job with how they've played the early game so far. A lot of momentum being built up, a lot of tempo. Silver Dragon, though, might get caught out here.
Yeah, that tempo might be nullified here. It is just, you know, it's a support. You'll take it, but top lane.
What?
All right. Levacious through the Ignite said, bet 1v1, let's run it.
I mean, hey, that's set low, right? He is a pit fighter, but a new challenger approaches, and I don't know if he can win 2 in a row here. He's got 2 levels up.
Yeah, we'll see. That's going to be the haymaker. Oh, he walked into the main portion. Oh, Lexus had to burn everything. Everything and the flash to just barely stay alive. You know what? Levacious will probably take that.
Yeah. Second flash that Lexus kind of burnt wasn't necessary. But those flexing, man, the mental damage coming through. That's the second time he burns at top. Unnecessarily bot side. Big damage and Herald drop.
Yeah, and that was a good call. I think Barco Duck realizing that something could have been happening there, burns the bullet time. It's going to be a walk down from 4 members. MSU really wanted to get the full value out. Going to push for this last plate. Can't make it happen, though. So RTM might only lose those 3 and be able to try and get a rebuttal somewhere else on the map.
Yeah, and despite rotating 4 members down, what you have to remember with plating is that the more plates you take, the more resistances the tower gets. At least in the short term there. It will reset, once you move away from it. But it does take a bit of time. So when Herald crashed in, that last plate is very difficult to take. So I don't think they even quite got that plate gold at the end of it. I wasn't quite sure if the minions managed to tag it there. If not, it's fine. Babashire resetting, buying items, comes back to lane, and they should be able to at least take that last little bit. Taking the actual turret, though, is going to be a little bit difficult. Barco Duck is willing to burn that bullet time to clear the wave. You can tell that Return of the Middle Sticks right now aren't in a rush necessarily to start those team fights going.
Well, who is in a rush? That would be Tendies on the top side. Every little chance that they can get, they are trying to repel in, trying to get a little bit of chip damage on this set. And considering the CS, it's been very close. Now, we are going to see both junglers meeting up on the top side. They are going to go a little bit of information. So, again, with the show of the junglers, immediately no one wants any piece of that.
Yeah, Return of the Middle Six paying their respects here. It's a little risky. You already saw that Lavasius won the 1v1 and almost won the 1v2. You throw in a Tryndamere, and that is not a fight you want to get into. Return of the Middle Six wants to continue playing with priority for the most part, making sure that they either have a numbers advantage or they're bringing their big AoEs to the fight. That means Schneider and Silver Dragon or Silver Dragon and Barco Duck. If they don't have at least 2 of them there, they're not looking to get any sort of even number fight.
Yeah, and if they can't, it doesn't look like they'll really have a chance with this dragon either. Teleports are up. It's going to be a little bit of a sweep as Lavasius goes ahead and is stopped from recalling here. Dragon is going to be up. In about 10 seconds, that will be an Earth Drake. A Mountain, I should say. And now we're going to see if they can get any work done. Babashire eats a decent bit of damage, so down a quarter. He's going to try and heal up as the dragon roars and spawns on the rift.
Return of the Middle Six, all ultimates up and ready here. This is the moment they've been waiting for with their team fighting composition. And when you look at MSU, their bot lane ultimates are not up and available. That Glacial Fissure, especially for Selenius here, is a huge team fighting ultimate. So they do have to be worried. Top laners as well. Both have teleport. And Lavasius actually got his mythic first. I don't know if Tendies had to sell some items, but did manage to get the Divine Center.
So that's going to be the call. The teleport, though, they're going to go in, and now they see the teleport. Who is going to get there first? A nice body block by his shield takes out so much of the damage, but it is going to be a little bit rough. Into the backline they go. That's going to be the Zinzao picking up 1. Camille picks up 2. They're going to look for 3. That's going to be a Haymaker landing on a little bit, and the Tryndamere is still alive. Undying Rage is available, but I don't think they want to chase any longer. Babashire is coming back trying to win the fight, but it looks like they're going to get chained down, but that's enough. Look at the Undying Rage. This is why Tryndamere is so good in the mid lane right now. They're going to win the fight. MSU come out 3 for 4. And they're going to look to turn and get the dragon as well.
This, Orbital, is why I hate Trinity. That should have been a 4 for 4. You saw the damage coming out from Return of the Middle Six. They layered it well. Great block to nullify the bullet time from Barco Duck by Selenius, but the rest of the damage was so good coming through. Tryndamere just press R, and suddenly he just doesn't die. They barely come out with the win. And barely doesn't matter. They still get themselves the dragon on the back of that here. And MSU, this is their game plan. This is what they're going to continue looking to do. And Return of the Middle Sticks now has this problem. What is your answer once all your burst is done? How do you take down the survivors, especially if it is that Tryndamere and he did not have to even burn his ult?
Yeah, and one of the things that you do, and I think that's what RTM were planning to do originally, is you don't actually go for the Tryndamere, right? You don't get him low. You try and take everyone else out first and then pray at that point, because I don't think Lance had any kills. You just don't let him get anything, right? That is one of the things. That's why he didn't have to burn his ult until the extreme end of the battle. I don't even know where the burst is going to go either, right? Like you said, you have to burst somewhere, and I don't see where it's going to go. So now he's 3-1-3. He has the Gourd Drinker. Triple Gourd Drinkers coming out for the side of MSU. And they're going to have a ball of a time.
Yeah, and for Return of the Middle Six, the problem is that the onus is on you to make your composition work. We touched on the fact that they're the big teamfight team. MSU, it's just a counter team. We've got all the answers to all your tools. And so MSU just needs to hit the appropriate buttons at the appropriate time. And other than that, they're more than happy to just continue extending the laning phase, extending the 2v2s, the 1v1s for the most part here. And as soon as Return of the Middle Sticks uses all their big spells, their big skills, their big ultimates, well, you've got nothing left in the tank for just a full-on, normal brawl between all the champions here.
Cam really making sure we get a good eyeful of Camille and Set in the top side. Bottom lane tower is going to fall, so we finally get to see the Vex and Braum enabled. As they did take it though, second Rift Herald goes the way of RTM. They're going to have a chance to break down a tower of their own. And it looks like it's their turn to put some pressure on a lane. 4 members rotate up, and Levacius says, yeah, I want no part of that.
Yeah, good read by Levacius there. They had the ward. They saw the Herald go down. You don't get to defend this top lane turret whatsoever when there's this many people hovering in the wings. You need to rotate more people up. And one person, Penguino, not sufficient. But this is buying time for Babashar to get a bigger push on that bot side. They took the first turret already. They got some chip damage as well. And they drew Schneider down there. Schneider has no TP. So wherever he needs to go, he's got to walk there.
He's got to walk and slowly mosey on because, we talked about the split push composition of MSU or the ability to split push. A Victor will never win against a Tryndamere in the late game, right? Unless you get the full burst combo and the Tryndamere just isn't preparing it. I don't see a way the Victor is able to. So, like you said, no teleport, only the Ghost and Flash. One or both of them have got to be up, and you saw right here, my point in case. They go ahead, burn the Flash, a little bit of a slow though, and Schneider is able to stay alive. So, Ghost for Ghost and a Flash out of Selenius. And Schneider is allowed to farm another day.
Huge win for Schneider there. I mean, 2 summoners for 1 plus an ultimate thrown in to boot, and you don't die. The time that they're spending sending Lance and Selenius down here, pretty significant as well. So Return of the Middle Six is going to be fairly happy about that. Bro, I want to talk items for a quick second here because mythics have come through, and I just noticed that one overpowered item is sitting for MSU. Hold up.
Well, what's overpowered is a champion that isn't allowed to move, or at least an attempt. They will get the trade. No heal. Okay, okay. Barco duck. Okay. That was the cost. That was the cost of the dive. They do pick up 1, but that's gonna be a showstopper on the top. Tendies ate all the towers and still got the kill. Revenge for Tendies in the top lane.
Okay, I was going to say the overpowered item is Gore Drinker, and MSU has 3 of them. Nope, scratch that. Divine Sunder is still apparently better in the 1v1 because Tendies just dismantled that set. And up to this point, Levacius has been dominating that top side. Not just winning the 1v1, but threatening, forcing attention up there and, able to still sustain that 2v1 attention. That's not the truth anymore. And Penguino, you're 2 levels down. If Levacius couldn't do it, you certainly can't handle this Camille 1v1.
Yeah, no chance at all. Level 10 to level 12 Tendies wrecking through that HP bar. So we're seeing Tendies start to come online, right? All the attention that was paid by Penguino has not only given Tendies a level lead over Levacius, but for 2-2, the chunking potential is ridiculously high at this current setting. I'm pretty sure, I want to say Tendies could potentially duel Lance as well at this point.
Yeah, Lance would almost absolutely have to burn the ultimate in an extended long trade there, but the ult might change things. Now, look at what Return of the Middle Six has done. Herald into the mid lane, Dragon spawning, Tendies full control topside with teleport here. They're pressuring the entire map, and MSU, you don't even get to look at the Dragon. They dropped wards, and all that's going to do is get them front row seats to a potential Dragon take here. They're trying to fight this, and they're trying to get in there, and I'm not sure that's the right call right now.
Yeah, it's going to be hard because, once again, they're late to the party. ROTM, both, or most of the Dragons, I want to say, they've been on top of it, right? They've been the first ones there. This time, though, they can't get in any closer. That's going to be a little bit of a stasis steal down, and that's going to be across the entire board. They're going to go in. That's going to be one time, and he got the smite! All right, Dragon is down. Can they get away? How much are they going to lose for the side? 2 still in the backline, Leona and the J4. Looks like they're going to sacrifice. Zinzao might fall as well. He's going to get a huge heal off, though, and is finally going to fall. Barco Duck picks that one up. And for a Dragon, and considering how badly it could have gone, only losing 1 apiece is going to be a worthwhile trade.
I'm so conflicted about that call, bro. Yes, you're right. Losing only 1 apiece is worth getting the Dragon. But at the same time, it's like, Should Return of the Middle Six happen in that situation where you had to like risk the 50-50 and get Lexus in for the smite steal? First of all, props to Lexus for getting that in that chaos there. But you saw how Return of the Middle Six composition worked. They just overload their big wombo combo outs down, and MSU has to walk away and or get CC'd up and eat the damage. So ideally, Return of the Middle Six should have had the pry on the dragon, should have just been able to turn and burn it. MSU, on the other hand, I think they were kind of lucky to not lose more on the back end of it, but that's where the conflict comes in. They're also very unlucky that Penguino wasn't able to secure that dragon. It's not going to make a big difference in the grand scheme of things. It's only second Drake for the side of Return of the Middle Six, but it's not ideal to see. And if that happens at Baron, I don't think MSU gets out as clean as they did that one.
Yeah, well, it's so crazy to me that we're even talking about the fact that either side has to get away, like they almost have to get away, right? Both these squads have so much potential in their squads that it's like it should be pretty obvious who's going to win either way, and yet everyone's going in. It's like, man, we got up by the skin of our teeth because you said MSU did. I looked on the other side, one player, a single Xin Zhao was running away 3 of the others. And that's not what you'll see. The Xin Zhao is actually probably, I would say, the weakest character on their team right now, right? The Set is doing a lot of damage. The mid lane, Tryndamere, is doing a lot of damage. The Vex is doing quite a bit. It's crazy to hear that with all the battles that's been going on, it still feels like it's that close.
And that's the fun part of it, right, Orbital? When we can't predict a fight going into it, exactly who's going to win. When all we can really do is set the stage and watch as the players execute. And it has been coming down to execution. The way Return of the Middle Six is able to get their damage on, despite not quite catching everybody in that big solar flare, in that bullet time. And MSU, the way individually Lance is threatening with that Tryndamere. Like you point out, Penguino zoning off multiple members, using that ult